All day long pigeons seem to be everywhere across plazas, pavements and city streets, but then the sun goes down, the crowds thin out, and they simply disappear. So where do they all go when the city falls dark and quiet? Welcome to the Pigeon Mind. Subscribe for calm, evidence-led pigeon documentaries. Stay until the end because the answer is closer and stranger than most people ever imagine. All day long you see them, strutting across plazas and gathering wherever people drop a crumb. City pigeons feel like a constant feature, as ordinary and everywhere as the pavement itself. But then the sun goes down, the crowds thin out, and the busy streets slowly empty. And almost without you noticing, every last pigeon seems to simply vanish from sight. The square that was full of birds at noon stands completely silent and bare by night. So where exactly do they all go the moment the city finally falls dark and quiet? It is a question most of us have honestly never once stopped to seriously ask. The answer hides in plain sight, tucked into the ledges and corners high above our heads. Because while the streets sleep below, an entire secret world wakes quietly overhead. The pigeons have not left at all, they have simply gone up and out of view. And what they do up there each night is stranger and softer than you might expect. So let us follow them up into the hidden hours after the streets go empty. The journey to bed actually begins well before the very last of the daylight fades. In the late afternoon, pigeons start drifting toward favorite pre-roost gathering spots. They perch on wires and rooftops, preening, resting, and quietly socializing before dark. These staging spots let the flock regroup and travel to the roost together as one. Moving in a group means more eyes watching and far less risk for any single bird. As the light drops further, they make short hops, edging closer to the final roost. There is often a last burst of activity, a final feeding flurry before the dark. They top up their energy reserves, fuel they will quietly burn, keeping warm all night. Then, as the sky deepens to indigo, the final short flight to the roost begins. And one by one, the birds settle onto their ledges for the long night ahead. When the light fades, pigeons head for what biologists simply call a roost. A roost is just a safe, sheltered place where birds gather to rest through the night. For city pigeons, that usually means the high ledges of the tallest buildings around. It might be a bridge underside, a quiet rafter, or a forgotten window alcove. These spots echo their wild ancestors who once roosted on tall and rocky sea cliffs. A city is really just a cliff, rebuilt in concrete, stone, and steel. Every tall ledge and high beam mimics the rocky perches their species evolved to love. So a pigeon on a ledge is following an instinct far older than any human city. They choose these high places because height itself offers real and lasting protection. Up there, ground predators simply cannot reach them through the long and vulnerable night. The same warm spots get reused nightly, sometimes by the very same loyal birds. The roost is valuable property, quietly fought over and faithfully returned to each evening. Some city roosts are tiny, just a handful of birds, on a single quiet beam. Others hold hundreds, packed along a warm wall in a great hidden nighttime crowd. High up at night, the biggest enemy is not a predator, but the simple cold. Small bird loses body heat fast, and the long night can be brutally cold. So pigeons fluff their feathers up, trapping a warm layer of air against the skin. A puffed pigeon looks like a soft gray ball, almost twice its normal daytime size. They also tuck their heads back, burying their beaks deep into their shoulder feathers. This hides the bare face and beak, the very places where precious heat escapes fastest. And on the coldest nights, they press their bodies close together in tight, warm rows. Huddling shares body heat between them, so the whole group stays warmer than anyone alone. The birds on the inside stay toasty, while those on the edges quietly take the chill. So they slowly shuffle and rotate, taking turns on the cold and exposed outer rim. It is a quiet nightly cooperation, born not of kindness, but of simple shared survival. Their feet, oddly, almost never freeze, thanks to a clever trick in their blood. Warm blood heading to the feet pre-warms the cold blood returning in a tidy exchange. So they grip an icy ledge all night with feet that barely lose any heat. But the strangest part of a pigeon's night is the remarkable way that it sleeps. A pigeon does not simply switch off the way an exhausted human tumbles into deep sleep. It can rest one half of its brain while the other half stays quietly awake. Scientists call this unihemispheric sleep, and many birds rely on it every single night. One eye gently closes for rest, while the opposite eye stays open and watching. The open eye keeps a quiet guard, scanning the dark for any sign of danger. So half the brain does this peacefully, while the other half stands silent sentry duty. The birds on the edge of a huddle keep their outward-facing eye open most. The safer birds tucked deep inside can finally let both eyes fully close. It means the whole roost is never completely asleep and never fully off its guard. This single trick lets them rest deeply, yet still react in a startled instant. It is the quiet genius of a small animal living always within reach of danger. So a sleeping pigeon is far more awake and aware than it ever appears to be. Its rest is a careful balance between deep recovery and constant life-saving caution. Because the night, despite its stillness, is genuinely full of quiet hidden dangers. The biggest threat from overhead is a silent and deadly nighttime hunter, the owl. Owls fly almost without a sound, and they hunt in the dark when pigeons are blind. Pigeons' daytime vision is sharp and brilliant, but at night it is nearly useless. So the open guarding eye listens and watches for the faintest warning of attack. This is exactly why height and shelter and numbers all matter so much at night. A bird alone on a low ledge is dangerously exposed to the night's quiet hunters. A bird deep in a huddle, high up, is far harder to ever single out. There is real safety in numbers, since many eyes catch a threat far sooner. And one bird's sudden alarm can launch the entire roost into protective panic. Rats and cats also prowl the lower roosts, hunting any bird that settled too low. So the safest pigeons claim the highest and most sheltered spots every single evening. The weakest or youngest birds often get pushed to the colder and riskier edges. The night quietly sorts the flock by strength, by status, and by hard experience. Yet for all its dangers, the city night holds real gifts for a clever pigeon. The first great gift is warmth radiating from the stone and concrete all around. Buildings soak up heat all day long and slowly release it through the cold night. So a city wall stays warmer than any exposed branch out in the open countryside. A roosting pigeon presses against that warm stone and borrows its lingering daytime heat. The second gift is the simple steady glow of the city's endless artificial lights. Streetlights and signs push back the darkness, and that faint glow genuinely helps the birds. A little light lets a half-awake pigeon spot a hunting owl just a touch sooner. The third gift is the sheer reliable abundance of food waiting again at dawn. Pigeon survives the night, knowing breakfast is scattered freely across the morning streets. So the dangerous city is also a warm, lit, and well-stocked refuge after dark. This is why pigeons thrive here, while many wilder and shyer birds simply cannot. The same human chaos that we complain about quietly built them a perfect home. The streets we abandon each night become their warm, defended, and familiar territory. A roost is not just a dormitory, it is also a quiet center of social life. Mated pairs often roost side by side, pressed close together through the entire night. They preen each other gently before sleep, smoothing the feathers the other cannot reach. This quiet grooming strengthens their bond and keeps their feathers clean and warm. Younger unpaired birds often roost together in looser and more restless little clusters. There are quiet squabbles over the best spots, settled with soft pecks and gentle shoves. And soft contented sounds, a low cooing, drifts through the roost as the birds settle. This nightly closeness helps hold the whole loose flock together, day after day. The birds you see scattered by day are quietly bound by these shared nights. So the roost is a home, a fortress, and a quiet gathering place, all at once. It is where the flock truly rests, repairs, reconnects, and prepares for another day. And then, slowly, the long dark night begins to soften toward the morning. As the first gray light creeps in, the roost begins to stir and quietly wake. Heads lift from shoulders, eyes open fully, and the night stillness gently breaks apart. The birds shake out their feathers and stretch their stiff wings in the cool air. A few early risers drop from the ledge and glide down toward the waking streets. Soon the whole roost follows, spilling down into the city in waves of gray wings. They return to the very plazas, where you will see them again by full daylight. By the time the crowds arrive, the birds are already strutting, as if they never left. And the whole secret night folds away completely, hidden once more from human eyes. You would never guess, from the busy daytime birds, the hidden lives they just left. Every single pigeon you pass has just survived another long and careful night. The warmth, the watching, the huddles, the half-sleep, all packed into the dark hours. And then quietly repeated, night after night, entirely unseen, right above your head. So the next time the street's empty, and the pigeons seem to simply disappear, look up. Scan the high ledges, the bridge undersides, and the warm walls catching the last light. You may spot the soft gray shapes settling in for the long night ahead. Notice how they fluff and tuck and press together against the gathering cold. Watch whether the same ledge fills with the same birds, evening after evening. See if you can spot the guards, the edge birds with one watchful eye open. These are not mindless pests, simply cluttering the ledges and corners of your busy city. They are skilled night survivors, quietly mastering a hidden and dangerous world above you. Every empty night street sits beneath a warm and crowded world you rarely ever see. So I will leave you with one simple thing to look for after dark. Find a pigeon roost near your home, a bridge, a ledge, or a warm high wall. Tell me where you found it and how many quiet birds had gathered there for the night. And tell me whether you saw them fluff, tuck, huddle, or keep one careful eye open. Because once you know where to look, the empty city night is never truly empty.